Welcome to the Heartbreak Chronicles, where every story is a raw reflection of life. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, give us a like to show your support, and share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive into today's story. Alex Bennett stands in front of the mirror, carefully straightening his tie. Tonight's welcome party was crucial for him. As the newest partner in the law firm, he needed to impress everyone. Little did Alex know, however, that tonight's encounter would change the course of his life forever, and the fate of certain people in this law firm forever. An elegant lady greeted Alex as he walked into the law firm's plush conference room. She enthusiastically shook Alex's hand and said, "Welcome to Bennett and Associates. Alex, I'm Emily Williams, Director of Human Resources. We are all very excited to have you on board, especially after Bob Johnson's retirement." Alex responded politely, "Thank you, Emily. I am honored to be part of this team. I know it's a huge challenge to take Bob's place, but I'm going to give it my all." Emily smiled and nodded before guiding Alex to a tall man. "Alex, let me introduce you to Preston Charlton. He is our senior partner and chairman of the hiring committee. It was he who recommended you to us." Preston shakes Alex's hand enthusiastically, a proud smile spreading across his face. "Alex, it's great to have you here. I'm sure you'll bring new energy to our team. Come on, let me show you the others." As Preston guides him, Alex begins to move through the room. He met the other partners and senior associates of the firm, as well as the heads of the various departments. The whole atmosphere is very friendly, and the complimentary drinks and upscale appetizers are the icing on the cake. While talking to a senior lawyer, Alex noticed a tall man. He inquired of Preston, "Who was that tall man talking to David, and the attractive lady next to him?" Preston followed Alex's gaze and explained, "Oh, that's Nathan McIntyre, our firm's counselor. Next to him is Olivia Reed, the head of our family law department and Nathan's wife." Alex raised an eyebrow in surprise. "We have counselors at the law firm?" Preston explains with a smile, "Yes, we have found that having a full-time counselor is very helpful for the mental health of our staff, especially when dealing with some tough cases. Nathan and Olivia are both very important members of our team." Alex nodded thoughtfully, then asked, "It seems important to know Nathan?" Preston solemnly replied, "Very important. Nathan is not only an excellent counselor, he is one of the most respected figures in this firm. A lot of people turn to him for advice, and not just on mental health issues." Alex was intrigued by the information. "Let's go get to know them then." Preston leads Alex toward the couple. After a brief introduction, Nathan smiled and asked, "Alex, has your experience at your previous law firm helped you in your current job?" Alex answered tactfully, "It does help, Nathan, and while the culture of each firm may be different, my experience in handling complex cases and managing teams is valuable here as well. I consider myself a results-oriented person." Alex then turned to Olivia and complimented, "Ms. Reed, I've heard you're a very capable family law expert. I was thinking maybe you'd like to head up an interdepartmental case team I'm putting together?" Olivia was clearly intrigued by the offer and accepted the invitation with a smile. Later in the evening, at their home, Nathan light-heartedly teases Olivia, "Honey, I see you're blushing from Alex's compliments." Olivia playfully shot back, "Oh, come on. Maybe you should learn how to give compliments more often." Nathan pretended to be hurt and said, "I may not be the best sweet talker, but I'm all for learning." Olivia smiles and says, "Really? Then come prove it to me." The two giggled and chased each other to the bedroom, ending the enjoyable evening. A few months later, Nathan had lunch with the recently retired Bob Johnson and wanted to catch up. Bob expresses his regret at not being able to see his old co-workers as often and his sense of loss at feeling like he's not as important anymore. Nathan reassured him that his old team still respected him and would seek his advice. However, Bob suspects that the new leadership may prefer to distance themselves from the past. He mentions that when one of his former team members called him with a question, Alex chastised her, insisting that she check with him before contacting anyone else. Nathan didn't think it was wise, but Bob just shrugged and said, "New people in office always have their own ideas. Maybe counseling me will get in the way of their transition." Nathan assured Bob that he wasn't an old fart and appreciated Bob's in-depth knowledge of the firm. They finished their lunch, and agreed to keep in touch. Recalling Bob's words, Nathan decides to talk to Preston Charlton to find out how Alex is doing. Preston's assistant, a longtime customer of Nathan's, quickly got him on the phone. Preston reports that Alex is doing very well and has secured commitments from several large clients even before the annual client renewals begin. Nathan was relieved to realize that his initial concerns may have been redundant. However, just a week later, Nathan had an unexpected encounter in the hallway of the law firm. He gave a friendly wave to long-serving accountant Marge Terrell, even though they had never been formally introduced. He then discusses an upcoming sensitive case with Bill Simpson, which is of particular interest to Nathan because it involves a number of moral and ethical dilemmas. After the discussion, Bill invited Nathan to the lounge for coffee. Nathan noticed the anomaly in Bill's tone, but agreed. Nathan McIntyre was lying on his bed in a cold sweat, gasping for breath. It was that nightmare again, the one that had been haunting him for 10 years. In his dream, he was back on the rooftops of Baghdad, his partner Rico Jimenez shouting in his ear, followed by a gunshot and then a terrible silence. Olivia woke up at Nathan's movement and gently rubbed his back. Was it that dream again? She asked softly. Nathan nodded, trying to calm his breathing. I thought they were gone, Nathan murmured. But lately they've been coming back. Olivia hugged him tightly. Maybe it has something to do with the recent changes at the law firm? You know, the stress of the job has really increased since Alex has been here. Nathan sighed. Maybe, but I think there's something else. What he didn't say was that he felt as if Alex's arrival had awakened something deep inside of him, some feeling he'd thought was long buried. The next morning, Nathan sat in his office, ready to start the day. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door and it's Olivia. Good morning, dear, she said with a smile. I wanted to let you know that I'm leaving for a case team meeting Alex is organizing. Might be back late. Nathan nodded. Okay, good luck with your work. He watched Olivia leave, an inexplicable uneasiness suddenly welling up in his mind. A few hours later, Nathan was having a consultation with an attorney when his phone vibrated. It was a text from Olivia. The meeting went well. Alex is such a great leader. See you tonight. Nathan stared at his cell phone screen and frowned. He didn't know why, but the name Alex annoyed him. Just then, there was another knock on his office door. It's Alex. Nathan, do you have a minute? I'd like to talk to you. There was a hint of imperceptible tension in Alex's tone. Nathan gestured for him to come in. Sure, have a seat. Can I help you? Alex sat down and took a deep breath. I've been feeling troubled lately. I think I might be in love with someone I shouldn't be. Nathan felt his heart race. You mean? Yes, Alex whispered. I fell in love with a married woman. I know it's wrong, but I can't help myself. Nathan tried to keep a professional demeanor, even though his insides were churning. It's a really complicated situation, Alex. Have you considered what this might do to your job and reputation? Alex smiled bitterly. I know, that's why I came to you. I need help, I need advice. Nathan took a deep breath. Okay, let's start at the beginning and talk about how you got into this situation. Just as Alex started to tell, Nathan's cell phone vibrated again. He glanced at another message from Olivia. Alex invited me to discuss the case alone. We may have to work late. Don't wait for me for dinner. Nathan felt a wave of vertigo as he suddenly realized that the married woman Alex was talking about was probably Olivia. But as a professional counselor, he knew he couldn't jump to conclusions or let his personal feelings interfere with his work. Go on, Alex, Nathan forced himself to say, while trying to suppress the shock and anger inside. I'm listening. Alex took a deep breath and continued. I know it's wrong, but every time I work with her, I feel a special connection between us. I don't want to break up her marriage, but I can't help my feelings either. Nathan tried to remain calm and thought for a moment before saying, Alex, I understand how you feel right now, but we have to recognize that this situation could cause harm to multiple parties. The first thing you need to consider is your professional ethics. As an attorney, you have a responsibility to uphold the reputation of the firm. Secondly, you also need to consider this lady's feelings and her family. Alex nodded, a pained expression on his face. Nathan continued, I would suggest that you start by giving yourself some time and space away from this temptation. Perhaps you could ask to be reassigned some work and reduce your direct contact with her. In the meantime, I think you should pay more attention to your life, maybe develop some new hobbies and expand your social circle. That might help you divert your attention." Alex was silent for a moment, then said, "You're right, Nathan. I know it's not right. I'll try your suggestion. Thank you." Nathan nodded. "If you need further help, feel free to come to me. Remember, it takes time and patience to overcome this situation." Alex stood up, gave Nathan a grateful look, and left the office. Nathan sat there, feeling exhausted. He knew the advice he had just given was correct, but inside he was conflicted. He wants to believe Olivia, but Alex's words and Olivia's texts make him uneasy. After work, Nathan decided to go to the gym first to let off some steam. He ran on the treadmill for nearly an hour until he was exhausted. When he finally got home, it was after 9 p.m. Nathan sits alone in the family's living room, waiting for Olivia to come home. The clock was ticking and every second felt like a century. His mind kept replaying Alex's words and Olivia's text messages, trying to pick up some clues that would prove his suspicions wrong. Finally, he heard the sound of a key being inserted into the lock hole. Olivia walks in with a tired but satisfied smile on her face. "Honey, I'm back," she said. "It's been a really busy day." Alex was really thoughtful, and we discussed a lot of new strategies. Nathan forced himself to smile. "Sounds productive." "You guys, just you and Alex?" Olivia nodded. "Yes, everyone else left early. We're the only two who have been discussing the case." She paused for a moment, as if thinking about something, then added, "You know, Alex is really amazing. His passion for his work is truly admirable." Nathan felt a stabbing pain in his chest, but he tried to stay calm. "Yeah, he's really good." That night, Nathan had nightmares again. But this time, the dream was different. He was no longer on the rooftops of Baghdad, but standing in the hallway of the law firm. He saw Olivia and Alex talking intimately in the distance before slowly fading out of sight. He tried to go after them, but his feet felt like they were rooted and he couldn't move. Nathan awoke with a start to find himself alone on the couch. He couldn't remember when he'd fallen asleep or if Olivia had returned to the bedroom. He stood up, walked toward the bedroom, and pushed the door open. Olivia is sleeping peacefully in her bed. Nathan breathed a long sigh of relief, but the unease inside didn't dissipate. He crept over to the bed and looked at Olivia's sleeping face. She was so beautiful, so calm. Nathan suddenly realized how afraid he was of losing her. But at the same time, as a counselor, he understands that direct questioning or blaming will only backfire. He needs more evidence. He needs a better strategy. Nathan kisses Olivia gently on the forehead and walks out of the bedroom. He decided to talk to Preston Charlton the next day. Maybe he could provide some information or advice. What Nathan doesn't realize, however, is that his actions have caught Alex's attention. Somewhere in the corner of the law firm, Alex is working on a plan that could change everyone's fate forever. As time passes, Nathan becomes more and more convinced that there is an inappropriate relationship between Alex and Olivia. This skepticism is not unwarranted, but stems from a series of subtle but disturbing signs. Olivia starts working late more often and is always with Alex. At first, Nathan tries to convince himself that it's just work, but the twinkle in Olivia's eye and the slightly excited tone of her voice when she comes home give him pause. A few times, he'd even noticed an unfamiliar cologne smell on Olivia. Secondly, Alex's attitude towards Nathan changes subtly. In private conversations, Alex begins to exude an almost contemptuous attitude, as if to imply that he knows some secret that Nathan doesn't. This attitude left Nathan feeling both confused and angry. Lastly, and most heartbreaking for Nathan, is Olivia's estrangement. She no longer shares the minutiae of her work with him as she once did, and rarely initiates intimacy with him. Nathan felt like an invisible wall had been built between them, and he didn't know how to cross it. One afternoon, Nathan is organizing papers when Alex bursts into his office. Alex's face wore an expression of fervor that Nathan had never seen before. "Nathan, we need to talk." Alex's voice was filled with excitement. "I think I found a solution." Nathan felt a pang of unease. "What solution?" Alex sat down with a strange glint in his eye. About that last time we discussed that question, I've decided to stop repressing my feelings. Life is too short. We should go after what we want, shouldn't we? Nathan tried to remain calm. Alex, what the hell are you talking about? I'm going to tell her how I feel, Alex said decisively, and I'm sure she feels the same way about me. We can be together, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nathan felt a wave of vertigo as he realized that his worst fears were becoming a reality. Alex, we discussed this last time. Do you remember the advice I gave you? This could bring harm to a lot of people. Alex waved his hand dismissively. Those are cliches. Love should be pursued with courage. Besides, he suddenly broke into a meaningful smile. I think you should understand the feeling too, don't you? Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. What do you mean by that? Alex stood up and towered over Nathan with a dangerous glint in his eyes. Don't play dumb, Nathan. I know about your past. Do you think that your stint in the army was a secret? Do you think you could really hide that accident of yours from everyone? Nathan jolted to his feet, feeling a wave of vertigo. Alex, you crossed the line. I'm warning you. Stop it right now. Alex sneered. What? Afraid of the truth being revealed? Afraid that everyone will know that that perfect image of yours is just a lie? Nathan clenched his fists and tried to control his anger. Alex, I'm warning you for the last time. Get out of my office immediately. Alex shrugged with a winning smile on his face. Whatever you say. But remember, Nathan, you can't stop true love. Maybe you should care more about caring for your own marriage than meddling in other people's relationships. With that, he turned and left the office. Nathan crumpled back into his chair, feeling a pounding headache. Alex's words were like a sharp sword, piercing through his carefully constructed facade of calm. He didn't know where Alex had learned about his past, but it certainly put a tremendous amount of pressure on him. To make matters worse, Alex's words confirm his worst suspicions, that Alex does indeed have a crush on Olivia. Just then, his cell phone rang. It was a text from Olivia. Honey, I'm going to be working late tonight with Alex, and I'll probably be home late. Don't wait up for me. Nathan stared at his cell phone screen and felt a wave of nausea. This is the third time this month that Olivia and Alex have worked overtime. He knew he had to take action, but he wasn't sure what to do. Just as Nathan was in deep confusion, his cell phone rang again. This time it's Preston Charlton, the firm's managing partner. Nathan, would it be convenient for you to come to my office right now? Preston's tone was serious. We have something important to discuss. Nathan felt a pang of unease. Sure, I'll be right over. A few minutes later, Nathan walked into Preston's office. He noticed two other people in the room, Marge Terrell, the firm's chief accountant, and David Thompson, the director of legal compliance. Preston gestured for Nathan to sit down and then spoke. Nathan, we have a serious problem. It's about Alex Bennett. Nathan felt his heart racing. What happened? Preston glanced at Marge, signaling her to start explaining. Marge cleared her throat. During a recent routine audit, I found some unusual expense records. All of these expenditures were approved by Alex, but the amounts and nature of the expenditures are suspicious. She pulled a stack of papers out of a folder and began to elaborate. First, here are multiple booking fees for fancy hotels. Although Alex claims these were for important clients, the frequency and amounts are well above our normal standards. Second, there are records here of purchases of some expensive gifts, including jewelry and watches. Alex lists them as client relationship maintenance expenses, but provides no specific information on the recipients of the gifts. She paused for a moment, then continued, most concerning are these cash withdrawals. In the last 3 months, Alex has withdrawn over $100,000 in cash in the name of miscellaneous expenses. This is a complete violation of our financial system. Nathan felt his heart sink to the bottom. Forcing himself to remain calm, he asked, were any of these expenditures associated with specific dates or events? Marge hesitated, glancing at Preston. Preston nodded, signaling her to continue. In fact, Marge said, these large expenditures usually occurred on days when Alex and Olivia traveled or worked overtime together. We don't want to jump to conclusions, but this looks suspicious. Nathan felt a wave of vertigo, but he tried to stay calm. That's when David Thompson spoke up. In addition to the financial issues, we've also discovered that Alex has been accessing some highly confidential client files frequently lately. The frequency and timing of the accesses are unusual. We're concerned that he may be leaking client information. Preston took a deep breath, then said, "Nathan, we called you here because you're our mental health counselor and one of the partners. We need your advice on how to handle this without causing a panic. Also, considering Olivia may be involved, we thought you should be informed." Nathan closed his eyes and felt a pounding headache. When he opened his eyes again, his expression became unusually serious. "This is a very serious issue indeed," he said, "and we need to handle it carefully. First, I suggest we gather more evidence. Second, we need to develop a plan to protect the firm and our clients. Finally, we may need to consider calling the police." Preston nodded. "I agree. Nathan, given your relationship with Olivia, how would you like to be involved in the process?" Nathan took a deep breath. "As a partner and mental health counselor, I'll do what I can to help with the situation. But the part about Olivia's possible involvement, I may need to recuse myself from." "Understood," Preston said. "So let's get started on a plan of action." When the meeting ended, Nathan felt physically and mentally exhausted. He knew that from this day on, nothing would ever be the same again. He, on the other hand, will have to face the possibility he least expects, that his beloved wife may have betrayed him and the entire law firm. Nathan walks the hallways of the law firm alone, feeling more alone and exhausted than ever. He decided to go back to his office first, needing time to digest the information he'd just gotten and to think about how to confront Olivia. Just as he was sitting at his desk, staring at his computer screen in disbelief, he heard a soft knock on his door. "It's Olivia." "Nathan," she called softly, a hint of unease in her voice. "May I come in?" Nathan looked up at the woman he had once loved so much and now felt so alien. He hesitated, then nodded. "Come in, Olivia. We do need to talk." Olivia walks into the office and closes the door. Her heart sank as she noticed the tired and serious look on Nathan's face. "Did something happen, Nathan? You look troubled." Nathan took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. He knew this conversation was going to be tough, but he had no choice. "Olivia, I just had a meeting with Preston, Marge and David." He paused, watching Olivia's reaction carefully. "It's about Alex." Olivia's face instantly turned pale. "Alex? What happened?" Nathan slowly spills the beans on what he learned at the meeting. Alex's questionable spending, frequent fancy hotel bookings, expensive gift purchases, large cash withdrawals, and a possible leak of customer information. As Nathan recounted, Olivia's expression changed from confusion to shock and finally panic. "Nathan, I don't know what to say. So let me ask." Nathan's voice was low and serious. "Olivia, what exactly is your relationship with Alex? These expenses, how much of it concerns you?" Olivia tried to keep her composure. "Nathan, I don't understand what you're talking about. Alex and I are just co-workers. We work together." Nathan took a deep breath, then pulled a folder out of a drawer. "Olivia, before you keep lying, I think you should see this." He opened the folder and began to show the evidence page by page. "These are the results of an investigation I commissioned from a private investigator. I didn't want to do this, but your behavior left me no choice." Nathan continued, "This is the check-in record for you and Alex at the Ritz-Carlton. This is the receipt for the expensive watch you both purchased on the same day. This is the ticket for the private plane ride you took together to the Bahamas. The private investigator followed you for a month and collected all this evidence." He pulled out a stack of photos, and these, all taken by a private investigator. "You dined intimately at a restaurant, walked hand in hand in the park, and even—" "Olivia, do you still want to deny it?" Olivia looks at the picture, the blood completely fading from her face. She opened her mouth to say something, but only a weak whimper escaped. Nathan's voice became colder, and this, he played a recording. Alex's voice is clearly audible on the recording. "Olivia, I love you. We should be together. Leave Nathan. He doesn't understand you, not like I do." Then Olivia's voice. "Alex, I love you too. But it's complicated. I need time." The recording ends abruptly. A deathly silence fell over the room. Olivia shuddered and sat down on the couch in her office as tears began to well up in her eyes. She knew that any sophistry would be futile in the face of such overwhelming evidence. Nathan, I made a terrible mistake. Her voice almost choked. Alex and we did have a relationship, but I swear, I didn't know anything about any misuse of public funds or leakage of client information. Nathan felt a wave of vertigo, and despite his early suspicions, hearing Olivia admit it in person still made him feel like his heart was in his mouth. Why, Olivia, is our marriage so worthless to you? Olivia shook her head, tears already streaming down her face uncontrollably. No, Nathan, it's not like that. I love you. I do. But with Alex, I feel different. I feel young and vibrant again. I know that's no excuse, but you still chose to betray me and our marriage vows. Nathan interrupted, his voice filled with pain and anger. I'm so sorry, Nathan, I really am. Olivia broke down and cried. I never meant to hurt you. I don't know how to explain it. It just happened. Nathan closed his eyes and tried to control his emotions. When he opened his eyes again, his gaze was filled with sadness and disappointment. We were together for so many years, Olivia, that I thought our bond was strong enough. I thought we could face everything together. We did go through a lot, Olivia said softly, trying to calm herself. But maybe we've both changed. Maybe we've both lost sight of each other's needs. Nathan stands up and walks over to the window, his back to Olivia. He needs some time to organize his thoughts. So, tell me, Olivia, what do you want? What are your plans for our future? Olivia was silent for a long time and finally said, I don't know, Nathan. I really don't know. I need time to think, to sort out my feelings. But one thing I do know is that I don't want to lose you. Nathan turned around and looked Olivia straight in the eye. You've lost me, Olivia, the moment you decided to betray me. Just then, Nathan's cell phone rang. It's Preston Charlton calling. Nathan, Preston's voice sounded a little nervous. Alex just turned himself in to the police. He admitted to all the charges, including misuse of public funds and leaking client information. But he didn't mention anything about you. Nathan felt a wave of relief. Thanks for telling me this, Preston. After hanging up, Nathan looks over at Olivia. Alex turned himself in. He pleaded guilty to all charges, including misuse of public funds and leaking client information. Olivia went pale. Oh my God. I really didn't know any of this. Nathan, you have to believe me. I've never been involved in any illegal activity. Nathan sighed. I believe you, Olivia, but that doesn't change anything. You may not have been involved in the crime, but you were involved in the betrayal. Olivia lowered her head, tears welling up again. I know. I don't know how to make it right. Nathan, please tell me, do we have a chance? Nathan was silent for a long time. Finally, he said, Olivia, I don't think I can forgive you, at least not yet. Your betrayal destroyed the trust between us that was the foundation of our marriage. What you do can repair that damage. Olivia's eyes were filled with desperation. Nathan, please, give me a chance. I know I've made a terrible mistake, but I really love you. Nathan shook his head. Love shouldn't involve betrayal. Olivia, I need time alone to think about our future. For now, I think we should separate for a while. Just then Preston called again. Nathan, the board has just finished an emergency meeting. Given the current situation, we've decided that you will take over Alex's duties for the time being. I realize this may be difficult for you, but we believe you are the best person for the job. Nathan looked at Olivia for a moment before replying, I understand, Preston. I'll do what I can. This might distract me for a while. After hanging up, Nathan turned to Olivia. I need you to move out tonight. I'll take care of the law firm, and then we'll talk about what to do next. Olivia nodded, tears welling up again. I understand. I'm really sorry, Nathan. I hope one day you can forgive me. When night fell, Nathan was left alone at the law firm. He knew that tomorrow would be a new beginning, full of challenges and uncertainty. But at the moment, he needs time to heal his wounds and rethink his life. What he doesn't realize, however, is that Alex's surrender is just the beginning of this complicated story. At the police station, Alex is considering whether to reveal more secrets, including Nathan's past in Iraq. Meanwhile, Preston is in his office, going through some files that might relate to Nathan's past, pondering whether he should investigate further. This night, underneath the seemingly calm surface, dark currents were stirring. Everyone goes to sleep with their secrets and questions, wondering what changes tomorrow will bring. Nathan McIntyre sat in his dimly lit office with a printed email clutched in both hands. His eyes swept over the harsh words again and again, each one piercing his heart like a knife. Alex Bennett, a former colleague who is now awaiting trial in a detention center, sent this email to all the firm's executives prior to his arrest, detailing Nathan's alleged crimes while serving in Iraq. Nathan's hand trembled slightly as memories came flooding back like a tidal wave. That hot Baghdad afternoon, the choking smoke, the deafening explosions, and that innocent little girl. He closed his eyes and tried to push the images away, but they became clearer. Just then the office door was pushed open and Preston Charlton walked in. Nathan looked up and his heart sank as he saw the complex expression on Preston's face. "Nathan," Preston said with a hint of nervousness in his voice, "we need to talk about this email." Nathan took a deep breath and knew it was time to face the truth. "Preston, let me explain." He spoke slowly about his experiences in Iraq, his voice filled with pain and remorse. "That day, we received intelligence that an important target had appeared in a certain area. I was sent on a sniper mission. As I was aiming at the target, a civilian suddenly ran into my line of sight. I hesitated. At that very moment, there was an explosion. My target, that civilian, and the civilians in the neighborhood, all?" Nathan's voice choked as he closed his eyes hard, trying to control his emotions. "My hesitation may have led to more casualties. That decision, that mistake, has haunted me." Preston listens quietly, the expression on his face fading from shock to sympathy. "Nathan, I'm sorry you're going through this. But why would Alex know these details?" Nathan laughed bitterly. "Once, at a company party, I got drunk and accidentally revealed some of it to Alex. I didn't think he would attack me with it." Preston nodded. "I understand." "Nathan, I need to go verify this information. Can you understand that?" Nathan nods. "Of course, I completely understand. Please go ahead, Preston. I'll be here waiting to hear from you." After Preston left, Nathan felt a wave of loneliness and fear like no other. He had no idea what his life would become after this truth was revealed. But what hurts him more is Olivia's betrayal. A few hours later, Preston returned with a look of relief on his face. "Nathan, I've verified it. Your explanation matches the military's records." Most of Alex's allegations in the email were exaggerated and distorted. Nathan felt a wave of relief, but the bitterness inside didn't diminish. "Thank you, Preston.so, about Alex. He will be duly punished for his crimes," Preston said firmly, "and his defamation will be documented." Nathan nodded, but his thoughts had drifted elsewhere. "Does Olivia know about this?" Preston's expression became complicated. "Yes, I had to tell her. She seemed shocked and worried about you." A pained expression appeared on Nathan's face. "Worried? After she betrayed me?" "Nathan," Preston tried to reassure him, "maybe you guys should talk?" "No, Preston," Nathan interrupted, determination in his voice. "There are some things that can't be undone. Olivia chose to betray me, to betray our marriage. Once that trust is broken, it can't be rebuilt." Preston looked at Nathan and realized that the hurt inside his friend was much deeper than he thought. "So, what are you going to do?" Nathan stands up and walks over to the window and gazes out at the view of the city. "I'm going to move on with my life, Preston. I'm going to focus on my work and helping those in need. As for Olivia, we've become strangers." A few days later, the news reported that Alex Bennett had been sentenced to prison on multiple charges. Nathan sat in front of the TV and watched Alex being escorted to jail with mixed feelings. On the one hand, he was relieved that justice had been done. On the other hand, he was saddened that his former colleague had fallen into such a state. Just then, his cell phone rang. "It's Olivia." Nathan stared at the name flashing on the screen, struggling fiercely inside. In the end, he chose to decline. The phone stopped ringing and Nathan felt a pang of heartache. But he knew it was the right decision. The rift between them was already unbridgeable, and continuing to dwell on it would only bring more pain. Nathan walked over to the window and looked out at the night. The lights of the city flickered in the darkness, like the only remaining light of hope within him. He knew that there was a long, hard road ahead, but he decides to face it all alone, to rediscover himself and redefine his life. When night fell fully, Nathan turned off the lights in his office. In the darkness, he felt a strange calm. Perhaps this is the beginning of a new life. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.